Hi Year 11 Child Studies. In this clip I'm going to talk to you about how to go about writing your action plan. Now if you haven't written one of these before, it is a very different style of writing and it does take some getting used to, but it definitely is worth it. You will do a couple of the same thing, so the same set out for child studies assignments. It's also the same as food and hospitality in Year 11 and Year 12, so it's a good skill or something to get really good at. Okay. First of all, you have 400 words and that's a maximum. So you never waste any words. There's no room for waffle. It is straight to the point and you get as much detail as you can in each and every sentence. There's a specific structure you need to follow. So I want you to use this document as a guide. It's part of the all-inclusive recycled books and props assignment. Which starts off looking like this. That's the cover page. Right, so scan down to where it has action plan set out. And I suggest that you pause and take notes as I go through this on your version. Okay, first of all, we have the task. So it rehashes what your task is. So the reader, if they need to, can recap and they remember, right, you're making 2 props and costumes, etc., etc. Just leave that there. The rest of these tips and colourful writing here, these are suggestions and scaffolding, so things to help you on your way. When you hand up your good copy, please make sure you've deleted all of those because you only want to have your work. Just keep the key headings. Right, the first section you need to write about is issues and strategies. All right, so what this really means is the criteria and considerations. So basically the criteria that the assignment is giving you, all right? So what have I told you have to do for this assignment? And then considerations are what you're going to think about or consider in order to meet the criteria. All right, so this is usually stuff that you would think about and would go through your head before you decide what you're actually going to make, so the 2 items you're going to make. An action plan helps you to actually document your thinking so that it can be assessed. Now, whenever you're writing your issues and strategies, I suggest your first sentence is stating the issue or the criteria that you're given, and then the second sentence is commenting on what you're going to consider, so your strategy for actually meeting that criteria. Right? You then have a new line and a new dot point for each of your issues or your criteria, all right? And you can see below that I've divided them up using 4 dot points. Basically, there's usually 3 or 4 key issues and strategies to discuss. You don't want any more than that. You won't fit them in 400 words. So 3 to 4 is good. Now, how are you actually going to come up with or find what am I going to write about? What am I going to choose as my 3 or 4 key criteria, and therefore what am I going to consider? Right, well, there's a big helping hand up here in the task sheet. If we come to this section here, practical activity, I've got when choosing items to make, consider the following, and there's 5 dot points. So first of all, age appropriateness. We know that we are making 2 items for a 2 to 4-year-old, okay? They would be very different for a 6 to 8-year-old. So making sure you consider age appropriateness would be something to comment on. Secondly, that your items link to your book that you've chosen. Thirdly, time management. Fourth, resources required and that they can be at least 50% recycled, and also that your item is safe and durable. Now, you might be thinking, well, there's 5, how do I choose 3 or 4? My suggestion is that you use 1, 2, 3, and then the last 2 here could be combined to make a 4th one because they're all about kind of resources and how they're going to work together. All right, let's get back to the action plan set out and think about how you could put that into sentences. So I've got an example so you get the hang of the style of writing. Okay, this, because it's an example, is based on a completely different assignment, but it's going to help you understand the wording. So the first sentence, like I said above, should be stating very clearly what criteria you've been given, just one of the criteria. Okay, so the first one. For this pretend assignment, the criteria is the puzzle must be suitable for a 5-year-old. Okay, so it's commenting on what age it must be suitable for. First sentence, full stop. Simple as that, really straight to the point. The second sentence is about what I'm going to consider in order to make sure it's suitable for a 5-year-old. I haven't chosen what to make yet. This is not about my decision. This is just what I need to think about before I decide. Okay, this is all before the decision. My second sentence in purple here says, considering the number of puzzle pieces, their size, and an image that will engage a 5-year-old will be important. Okay, so there's 3 things there that are going to be really important in order for my puzzle to be suitable for a 5-year-old. All right, so you would do the same thing, first and second sentence, but what you'll be focusing on is these again, coming back up here. All right, for example, the first sentence might be, the 2 items must be suitable for a 2 to 4-year-old, full stop. Things that are important to consider are, okay? Secondly, the items must link to the chosen book. Things to consider, or considering, blah, 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 will be important, all right? Then maybe one about time management, and then one about resources being recycled to produce a safe and durable product, okay? So that would become your 4 dot points. Coming back down to our set out. Okay, so once you have 1, 2, 3, 4 issues and strategies, or your criteria and what you're going to consider, the next thing that you need to document is down here is your decision. Okay, so you've done all of your background thinking, you've considered all of the criteria, and you've come to a decision. You've decided, yep, I know that what I'm going to make is going to meet all of that criteria. It's time to list it. So first, I'm just asking you to list your book. I know you didn't get a choice, but you need to list it so that we understand your decisions make sense. Secondly, item 1, what are you going to make? All right, doesn't need to be in detail here, very simple. So is it a sock puppet? Is it a mask? Is it a cape? Is it a wand? All right, is it a finger puppet? Whatever it is, really simply listed, and the same for item 2. Okay, so you've now made your decision. It is time to explain how you're going to implement your decision. So how you're going to put this into practice, making sure that you're going to meet all of the criteria. So before, in the issues and strategies above, you explained what you thought about and how what you're considering. Now you actually need to go into what you're going to do, all right, to make it work. So I've got some instructions here. Implementation plan. Explain actions that you will take or things that you will do to make sure your practical is successful and meets the criteria that you have identified. Here's the trick, so you don't miss anything. Dot point 1 here should link with dot point 1 from above in the issues and strategies section. Okay, so here's the example again for our pretend assignment. Let's recap. What did I write above? I wrote about the puzzle being suitable for a 5-year-old, and I'm going to consider the number of puzzle pieces, their size, and an image that will engage them. So down here in the implementation, I now need to explain exactly what I'm going to do to make that happen, to make sure it is suitable, they're the right size, the right sort of image. Okay, this is the actual what I'm planning. So I've written, again, in concise language, trying to get as much detail in as possible. For age appropriateness, a 20-piece puzzle will be made. Each piece will be approximately 5 by 5 centimetres in size. The final image will be a printed high-resolution picture of bright and colourful sea creatures and a coral background to engage the children as they commonly learn about animals at this age. Right, so I'm now giving detail about what I'm actually going to do to meet the criteria, how I'm planning to go about it. I've given information like numbers, like 20-piece puzzle, and sizes, and I've stated what the actual image will be and added details like printed, high resolution, and exactly what the foreground, the sea creatures, and the background will be here. Okay, again, remember it's a pretend assignment, but just so you understand the level of detail. Now you might notice here I've got some referencing. If you want to be clever and aim for the high A band, okay, you'll find as you go through, you've probably done a bit of background research, you can reference little snippets here and there. again, you don't want to waffle on about all your research, but this just flowed nicely. So I'm pretending that in some of my research, I found out that kids learn about animals at about the age of 5, at school perhaps. So I've referenced where I've read that information. So you can in-text reference if you have some good information that fits. So for you, with your implementation, you want to make sure again that it links back to the dot points above. All right, so let's just scan back up to the key things you're going to be writing about. Oop, there they are. If for dot point 1 in your issues and strategies you wrote about being age appropriate for a 2 to 4-year-old in your implementation, you want to tell me exactly what you're doing in terms of size or shape or colours, to make sure that it's suitable for a 2 to 4-year-old. Okay, if you're going to choose links to the book for dot point number 2 in the implementation, dot point number 2, tell me exactly how your items link to the book. Okay, are they certain colours or shapes or from a character, or how can they be used with your book? All right. Number 3, time management. Again, how are you going to manage your time? Are you going to allow 1 week for planning, 1 week for item 1, 1 week for item 2, or are you going to do it differently? Explain what you will do to meet that criteria. Okay, and then for number 4, if you've chosen to combine these, explain exactly where you're going to get your resources, how you're going to use them to make sure that they are safe and durable. You know, are you going to use a laminator to make things durable? Will your stitching be nice and straight and strong, etc. Okay, let's go back to the action plan. So that's all that you need to include, but your 400 words will go really, really quickly. So please make sure, like I said, that you use your words wisely and include a word count. You do get a draft of this if you get it in on time. Check your calendar for when that's due. All right, if you have any other questions, please ask your classmates, email me or ask me in class.